Fellow auto detailers, welcome to the show that features interviews with today's most successful auto detailers. This is the Auto Detailing Podcast. Here's your host, Jimbo Balaam.
Welcome to episode 168 of the Auto Detailing Podcast. Today on the show, we have Nick from Nick's Custom Detailing based out of Texas. Some of you may know Nick from working on the Duesenberg project with Michael Stoops, Jason Rose, down in Texas, or over in Texas, or depending on where you are in the world, maybe not just down to Texas, not down in Texas. But this is me recording after the interview has already been recorded due to the fact that when I reached out to Nick, he was super excited to do the show, but said he's really good at talking on the phone, but as soon as he knows he's being recorded, he goes into his shell. So in order to try and extract as much info as possible, I didn't let him know when I wasn't recording. So I was throughout our conversation together, which I want to thank Nick for sitting down and talking with me for the show. But I set it up as just a casual phone conversation, and then recorded it, and then bit by bit told him I was recording or not recording, or I tried to keep it as much of a secret as possible to make him feel as comfortable as possible. So if the interview or if the audio that follows gets kind of wonky in any spot, which it doesn't, I've gone through the whole thing and it's pretty smooth, but if at any point it kind of skips around and doesn't make sense, it's because I have edited some stuff out, and tried to smooth it over as good as possible. But Nick gave an awesome interview. He's been in the detailing industry for a long, long time. Nick, you're not old. You've just been in the industry a long time. And it was a pleasure to have him on the show. He gave some really, really cool insight. So I hope you guys get a lot out of the show, and feel free to give me feedback. So tell me how you kind of started in the detail industry. I don't know much about your past or how you got into it. Not your past. I don't want all your little secrets.
Basically, it started with my dad. He was an old hot rod guy and always had hot rods in the, at the house. And, Friday, Saturday, we'd work on the cars, and Sunday we'd get them cleaned up, detailed, and go for a ride. That's kind of how it all started. And then started doing family and friends cars, and then it just branched out from there. Spent many years doing the soccer mom deal, cleaning soccer mom cars and minivans, and just escalated to what it is today. 86.
Oh, wow. So you've been in the game a long time. Why? Oh, yeah. So working on a hot rod, you obviously are working a lot on the engine component. So why were you kind of drawn to the cleaning side of things versus like the mechanical side of things, or do you still, obviously you own your detailing company, but do you still tinker a lot with mechanical things too, or?
Oh yeah. I got a little Trailblazer SS of my own that we've done a lot of work to, and puts like 500 horsepower to the wheels. So it's,
wow.
It's a little toy, but I'm a horrible mechanic. It seems weird coming from someone that does what I do, but I don't have the patience for it. I honestly don't. I get frustrated with it way too easy.
Yeah. So it was kind
but
of.
I can sit and look at a panel for.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I'm like, but detailing. I've just started to learn in my own business that I got to be a little bit more patient. It's a big difference if you're a little bit more patient with what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I can sit in the same panel, working on the same panel for 10 hours, and it wouldn't bug me a bit. But you put me on an engine, and like 10 minutes later, I'm just frustrated, can't handle it.
Especially as you told me,
out of my element.
You're starting a wet sanding project all week. That's time consuming. Got to be patient. So you did,
absolutely.
So you did the soccer mom thing for a while, or the minivan kind of. I look at that like you're paying your dues almost. But so how long did you do that for?
Well, I had the business off, and I had it. It was more of a part-time business for many, many years. I spent 17 years working for one of the major airlines.
Ah.
And
doing what?
I work in the operations control center dispatch office.
Okay. Wow.
Left there a few years ago and decided to put my business full time, and it's been amazing ever since I've done that. I mean, it's like the stress level drops.
Totally.
A lot more fun.
What was the final straw to make you go full time with it?
I'm not a corporate guy. I can't handle corporate world and, living by somebody else's rules 24/7. It was.
I hear you, man. I'm not. I am not a corporate kind of guy. I don't know how people.
No, I'm kind of got a little bit of a rebellious side to me, so that doesn't mix well in the corporate world. And I have a huge passion for cars, and what greater life could you ask for to work on some of the most beautiful cars in the world day in and day out and get paid for it.
Totally.
It's perfect life.
Totally. So did you you mentioned that you had your business kind of on the side. Have you had it on the side since you started in 86, you said? Was it?
Yeah, I've taken a year off here or there, but I'd say from around the mid-90s on, it's been, a steady part-time business, and then a few years ago I took it full time, and it's been amazing.
What was one of the hardest things when a lot of guys I see like on these Facebook groups and stuff are just kind of enthusiasts that have, like we all started, or most of us how I started at least, just like it started as a part-time deal, but a lot of guys are afraid to make kind of that jump, What was it? Were you getting so busy in the detailing with your business that the jump wasn't as difficult, or what was kind of, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. What was the hardest part about making that jump, I guess? That's not really what I'm thinking.
I kind of had my business, being that I had it part-time for so many years. I mean, I was pretty established with a name out there already. I'd worked on the Ford SEMA team for years with, Derek Bemis, Kevin Brown. I had my name had already been out there that I was doing these cars, and it really wasn't a hard transition. It wasn't even really a big thought process for me, and once I decided that, corporate life it's not making me happy, then, it was kind of just an easy transition and moved right over. I had quite a bit of a backlog. I had stayed pretty backed up for many, many years. So it was an easy transition.
Okay. Interesting. So, that's cool. So you kind of just had people waiting on you that you could just.
Yeah, by the time I'd gone full time, I'd already been to Pebble Beach twice. I'd taken 2 cars to Pebble Beach. So, I had the customer base. I was working on collections at the time. I couldn't dedicate it full time, and that was a real drawback to some customers, with these large collections, is I couldn't be there every single day for 8 to 10 hours a day. I had to, really play it on a part-time basis, and, maybe 2 or 3 hours in the evening and then on the weekends and things like that. So, once I moved into that full-time status, it was.
So it seems like
it just kind of went from there.
Like I've been kind of watching you a little bit ever since I saw you on the Duesenberg project, and it seemed like you kind of headed that up.
Right, yeah, that was a fantastic project. I love working with Michael Stoops, and Jason Rose, and then Scott Nichols.
Yep. And those guys talk really, really highly of you, which is awesome. And what an awesome car! How do you go from minivans and soccer mom cars to that?
That's probably the biggest question I get, and honestly, I have no answer. I mean, I do absolutely no advertising. I don't put myself out there at all. All my business is word of mouth, and I'd always, even doing the soccer mom cars and minivans and daily driver stuff, I'd always kind of done a couple of projects on the side that were a lot larger in scale, like these old touring cars and from the 30s and 40s. And a lot of old hot rods. so it just kind of one end of the business, the cleaning side of it, just over time just kind of started dying off a little bit. I mean, I still get calls. I still do that type of work, but my passion is with the hot rods, and 30s and 40s are where my real passion is.
You know what? That's one thing. When I was kind of really, some people would call it Facebook stalking. I just call it looking at pictures. But when I was looking on your page, and your business page too, that was actually one thing that I really liked, was that it seemed like you do a lot of high end work. But then I think you had like a Camaro on there, or some, like kind of a, I mean, we say it like it's just a Camaro or whatever, but it's like you do some normal cars too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Like I'm looking at this white Corvette that you did. Like, what a car, but it's not like the Duesenberg, right? You know what I mean? And I like that. It's kind of cool. Or this Nissan Z. 370Z. It's just kind of I'm playing it down, but it's kind of a normal car. You know what I mean? And I like that.
Well, I still take care. Even these big car collections that I work on, I still take care of the owner's personal daily driver cars. Right. I still take care. I mean, I have customers that have been with me, like that the guy with the 370 and the Corvette that I recently finished that you're talking about. That belongs to the same owner. He's been a customer of mine for years and years. And I'm not going to turn those people away. I'm going to keep doing what I do for them.
And that's what I love, that you actually show that you do that, because I think it kind of does some beginners a disservice sometimes when guys are just showing the cream of the crop and portraying that they make this full-time great income off doing these super, super rare cars. And maybe some guys do. I don't really know, but in my experience and where I'm at within my business, it's not all cream of the crop cars. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I think some guys
I know exactly what you're talking about. There's a couple of the guys out there that still, they just kind of only do the super high end stuff.
Right.
But realistically, that's, I've got bills to pay. I've got, a mortgage. I've got insurance to pay. Those high end cars are nice, but you make some decent money with the daily driver stuff. And you get done quicker.
Yeah, that's kind of when guys ask me, I'm like, dude, there's a lot of money to be made in just kind of daily driver stuff, and it's good to aspire to do crazy rare cars, but don't trip yourself out if you're just working on Civics. Like, it's okay. Right. You know what I mean? You never know. Like that guy, if was one of my better clients, and now he's I think he's having health problems or something, but when I've been doing his cars for years, and he approached me in a 96 Tahoe that was just beat, and kind of was asking me some prices and stuff, and I had that thought of I really don't want to do this car. You know what I mean? And he said, all right, I'll call you. And I'm like, all right, cool. One of those, I'll never hear from him, And he ended up calling me a few days later. He's like, oh, I'm that guy in that Tahoe. He's like, I'm giving that car to my friend. He's like, but I got 7 other cars at home. And I'm like,
that's exactly how it starts.
Wow.
I mean, a lot of these big clients that I like the Anders collection, I started out just doing their SUV, and it just grew from there. And lo and behold, they have 100 and something cars in their collection, and getting ready to have a big sale. And
you're the guy.
I was the guy in the door. Yeah.
Another thing that I think's cool is that you're mobile. You don't have a shop, or maybe you do. I don't know.
Shop at all.
But
no, I have my home-based business. I have a garage at my house. It's kind of all detailing related. I could do cars in and out of my garage. I used to do a lot of them, but I don't do very many anymore. But I would say 99% of my work is all mobile.
Wow. Does that pose any challenges? Because I know Scott Nichols. Is it Nichols? Yeah. It seems like he has a shop. Obviously, some cars you're going to have to do on location, but it seems like he has a shop that he works a lot out of. And that was kind of another thing that I was kind of just fascinated by, me being a mobile guy as well, is that you're all mobile, which makes sense when you think about it. Like you said, a guy with 100 cars in his collection isn't going to be like, yeah, Nick, let me bring them over one by one.
No, not even that. I mean, to him, that car, those cars are his prized possession, but so is the guy with, the Z06 or that's their prized possession. They worked all their life just to have that. So they're real hesitant about taking it somewhere and just dropping it off and leaving it and coming back the next day or 3 days later and picking it up. So, that's one benefit with being a mobile services. I can just come to wherever the car is. The car never has to leave the garage.
Do you ever run into any issues being mobile, though?
Not really. I mean, to a degree, I do a lot of wet sanding, and obviously a lot of the places that I do wet sanding jobs, they don't have a dedicated compressor or, so I have to carry a small compressor in my van, and that's one of the biggest limiting factors is I can only fit so big of a compressor in the van. And you can't get a big 60, 80-gallon compressor in a Chevy van.
Right.
So I have to work off of a little 30-gallon compressor. And luckily, a lot of my wet sanding jobs are very high-end cars, so I prefer to do those by hand anyway.
Okay.
So I don't do a lot of pneumatic sanding, air sanding. But when I need it, it would be helpful to that's probably my biggest limiting factor is having a good supply of air available.
So like the Buick that you're doing, are you doing that at someone that looks like it's at someone's shop?
That 48 Cadillac?
Yeah. What I didn't say that. What did I say?
I think you said Buick.
Oh, whatever.
It's okay. I won't hold it against you.
I don't even know where I got Buick from, but whatever.
Yeah, it's at actually a customer we did a Pierce Arrow back in 2011 and took it to Pebble Beach. It's his shop, and it's at his house. It's a pretty decent sized shop, but it's all at his house, and that's all. He's the only one that works there, and just plays with his cars in there.
Oh, can only aspire to be that someday, man. Imagine just having a.
He has a very modest collection. It's nothing, no multi-million-dollar cars or anything, but he's got about 10 to 12 from the 30s on up to the 60s.
And what's he prepping the car for?
He's just building it for himself.
Oh, okay. Oh, he's building
another car to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool.
And his wife is also a car girl.
Wow.
And I think it was about August, September last year. She has a '54 Buick Skylark, and did that one for her last year. And there's a lot of pictures of that car out. It's a beautiful car.
What color is that one?
It's kind of a baby blue color.
Okay. Yeah, I can see the nose of it in the picture.
Right in the background.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, that's a cool color. Wow, car girl and a car guy. That's very cool. How did so you mentioned you've been on the Ford team at SEMA. How did that come about?
It's just working, I knew Kevin Brown real well back then, and Derek Demas, and they just called me up one day and asked me if I wanted to be a part of it. And I think it was back in 2006, 2007, something like that. It was my first year. And did it all the way till 2011, and I took the last couple of years off. And we're actually talking about right now. Just got off the phone with Derek Demas about an hour ago, and talking about coming back out there this year and being on the team again.
Nice. Do you still go to SEMA or no?
Yeah, I went last year just by myself. As a spectator, but I rarely go. Unless I'm working out there or anything.
How was it different to go and not do cars compared to like working on cars the whole time, besides not having to work?
Yeah, it's going to sound weird, and I absolutely love working on cars. So being able to see all these cars and not be able to touch them is like, oh, I just want to touch them.
So is it harder to go?
Yeah, it's very much harder. It was a lot harder to go just as a spectator, definitely.
And you don't have the access that you would if you were working on the cars.
Right, exactly. What was it, 2011? Well, 2010, I think, was, or 11. And we had finished up all our work, so it was just little things that we get to do on the SEMA team. But we had finished up all our work, and we were walking out, getting ready to leave. There's Chip Foose over there hand rubbing a goaling that he just finished. Oh. And he's trying over there rubbing, sanding marks out of the car. And we're like, hey, do you need some help? And those 5 of us just jumped on his car and started buffing away.
I think I saw some of those pictures. That's awesome. That's really cool.
So you get to do some pretty cool stuff out there. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm an open book, and I mean, you can even just reading. I mean, on every post that I make on my business page and in Detail Buddies and different, on my Facebook pages and things like that. I mean, every product I use is listed in there pretty much on virtually every car I do. I don't have any secrets. I don't hide anything. Everything's out there.
And the thing that's really funny to me is that with the internet and with how many forums and Facebook groups and how many YouTube videos and how much just information is out there, it's so rare for, people to have secrets about how to clean a car or detail a car. There may be like minor things that really help, but I'm like, man, there's so many ways to access information that it's really stupid to be like, oh, I can't tell you that.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, at least. So other people may have differing opinions on that. So, yeah. So if you want, we can kind of dive into some more stuff. I did record you just talking about yourself. In the beginning, because what happens is I jump on these calls and talk like we're talking, and then I'm like, all right, well, we'll record again, and then I already know your backstory, so I forget to ask it, and then I'm like, crap, no one's gonna know that, you know what I mean? Like, I should have asked. So I try to, like, the first time on the call, I try to, like, I don't know, record a little bit, but I don't know, if you want, we could record a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Or we could set something up. So why don't we? I'm just gonna kind of let it record, and I'll edit stuff out later if you say something. Was there anything specifically that you want to talk about, or anything you feel most comfortable talking about?
I'm kind of an open book when it comes to detailing. So any questions you got,
Okay.
I'm available on it.
What are some, like, since you've been doing it, you've probably been doing it longer than any, I don't know if you've been doing it longer than...
Don't you dare call me old.
No, I'm not calling you old. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, you've had the most experience. No, no, I don't think you're the one been doing it the longest, but kind of what have you, since the mid 80s, I guess, when you kind of started it, what are some, like, real big changes that you've seen either within the industry or within products or anything like that?
Oh, technology and products has just gone through the roof. It's amazing, especially in the last, 5 to 10 years. It's just really changed dramatically. And we've got one liquid to do the entire car, start to finish, from a heavy cut to finishing polish. I mean, we never had that in the 80s. I mean, you have to fight 3, 4, 5 different types of chemicals or liquids and to get the car to finish out. And
what product is that? What's your go-to?
Go-to product, 205
okay.
from McGuire's. Absolutely.
What kind of pad?
205 and a microfiber and a DA. That's my go-to.
Nice. I think that's what you guys used on the Duesenberg, wasn't it?
Yeah. Start to finish, we used 205 and then topped it with 26.
That's what's crazy is I remember I started in 2008, and I remember when I first started, and that's not that long ago, but it's a little bit ago. But I remember it was still back then the 3 separate pads, 3 separate polishes, 2 machines, and I hated it. Like, I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
It was just too much.
Yeah, and then I think M105 was the first that came out, and we started doing cars with. I mean, I could do a car start to finish with M105. Just had it with a rotary or DA and to cut it, and then you could actually finish it out.
Right.
A little spritz of water, thin it out a little bit, and get a real nice finish on it.
Do you on the higher end cars that you work on? Obviously, if you're wet sanding it, you're probably going to use a rotary first. But are you mainly using a DA?
Mainly using a DA, correct? Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say 80% of the jobs I do are DA only.
Okay.
Usually only break out the rotary, mainly only when I wet sand, maybe one or two cars that have just been so stubborn that the DA wouldn't take out all the defects. But
Right.
It's very rare.
What's kind of one thing that's, as technology has progressed like so much already, kind of what's one or two things that are exciting you about the future of the industry, or what would you like to see? How about that? What would you like to see change product-wise or machine-wise or anything-wise within the industry?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'd like to see more, more just machines are fantastic nowadays. There's no reason, I'd say there's no reason, but, they're putting out flawless results.
Yeah.
With the machines we have, and a DA with a 21 millimeter stroke cutting defects that a rotary could only do.
Yeah.
It's technology is crazy right now. I can't imagine it going any further than what it is.
Would you like a bigger stroke machine?
Until I put one in my hand, I don't answer that question.
I was thinking, like, what if there was a 30-inch or something? Would it be? Is there a point of diminishing return? I just wonder.
I'm sure there is. Unfortunately, Kevin Brown's probably the answer to that question.
If I could get him on the show.
Hint, Kevin.
That's cool. I've been thinking a lot lately about dust. Like, I know this is really, really a weird thing to think about, but I started thinking about like how I wonder if it's bad for our health as detailers, like inhaling a lot of the compound dust and stuff. And I've heard of guys getting like random coughs, or I don't even know. I think there's a word for it, but I don't even know. But I wonder if, and there's a lot of products like 205, obviously, that don't really dust at all. But I wonder if we'll get to the day where like a really heavy cut compound just does not dust at all.
Oh, that would be amazing. I can feel it in my lungs some days.
Really?
Yeah, you can definitely feel it's getting harder to breathe, especially using some of this really heavy dusting compounds like 101 and 105. They tend to dust a lot. Those particles are you're just inhaling them and filling your lungs up. Yeah,
that's what I know. It's a really random, and maybe some guys don't even think about it, but I've been thinking about it. Like, I wonder what are the long-term effects on some of these chemicals that we use? Because if you think about what it's doing, it's actually doing something that's really gnarly to the paint. And I'm like you said, like,
what's it doing to your lung tissue?
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's stupid, but I just was thinking about it the other day. I was using M100, and that doesn't dust too bad, but there's some dust on it. And then I was blowing out the pad with air, and I'm like, oh man, that's a lot of dust.
Yeah, especially when it all comes blowing back up in your face after you blow the pad out.
Yeah. And then coatings. Do you do much with coatings on higher end cars, or not really, or coatings at all?
I do. I use 2TPLE and Modesta.
Okay.
Those are the main two I use.
I was thinking, what's the difference between those?
Modesta goes on a lot thicker. It lasts longer. It's got better depth gloss. It just looks fantastic.
Okay.
And 2TPLE looks amazing as well. That difference, it's only about 10-20%, but it's huge when you're working on a black car or something like that. It's huge. Plus the durability goes up with Modesto.
I was thinking about that too. Is I wonder if guys with collections will be more into coatings for the protection aspect, even though most of the cars are going to be garaged. But just like, if you put a coating on it and it is garaged and doesn't get driven that much, and you pull it out to, I don't know if they're actually wiping down their own cars, but I know my father-in-law has a mini collection, just a few cars, but he's constantly wiping the cars down and just, creating a scratch fest. And I always thought, man, I wonder if, really putting a good coating on the cars, obviously if you're wiping down a dirty car, it's going to scratch no matter what. But I just wondered if coatings would be more of a hit in the collector car scene, or I don't know.
I honestly, to be 100% honest, I actually talk people out of coatings on some of these classic cars. Not all of them, but there's some that I actually talk out if they're interested in the coatings. And
let's talk about
once
that.
I explain the differences. Once I explain the differences of the products to them, they lean more towards just a traditional carnauba-based wax. And I actually prefer wax on like a lot of those concourse cars, and that big car collection we finished. Every one of those cars have just regular carnauba-based wax on them.
Interesting. I want to talk about this for a second. I think it's super interesting. So talk about so a customer comes to you wanting a coating, whatever, on their collector car. What are you saying to talk them out of it?
Well, I wouldn't say I talk. I guess I kind of misspoke. I don't really talk them out of it. I just explain. I don't sell people anything.
You're educating them.
Explain this does this. This product will do this, and this product will do this. I use carnauba-based waxes. I use synthetic sealants and glass coatings. That's the three big ones that I use. There are some of the classic and vintage cars that I do glass coat. Like, let's see, we did that GT40, that Ford GT40 last year. And we actually put Modesto on that car. And the reason we did that is because he still races that car. That's a $5 million race car. He still races it. Oh does vintage racing and things like that. That was Emerson Fittipaldi's road car that this one was. Wow. So it's got a lot of history behind it, and I think Emerson even Fittipaldi even raced it for a couple of years. So it's got a lot of racing history, and he's out there banging away on vintage races.
Wow,
which is impressive. I mean, it's to what the car was meant to be done.
Yeah, that's cool. So that one you have a coating on?
Right, we put the glass coating on it simply because of the just the wear and tear. Leaning against the car and. The hardness level of the Modesto. I think we put BCO5 on that one. So it had a pretty decent hardness level, and we put that on there so it helps keep it clean at the track.
What is it that
make it a little more durable?
What is it that customers don't like about a coating?
The price.
Oh, is that the biggest? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. It's the price. It is some of them, like the Modesto. I think the entry level on the Modesto is about $1,200. So
right.
it's an investment, and you really have to think about it and make sure that that's even my customers. I'll kind of question them. Are you planning to keep this car for a while? I don't. Like I said, I don't upsell anybody on anything, and I guess that's part of it why I have the reputation I do. But I explain the benefits, explain the cost, explain the pros and cons of each, and let them make the decision on what they want on their car.
It kind of brings up another good topic that I like to bring up too, and that's the future revenue for the detailer too, selling a coating versus a traditional wax or sealant or something like that. Is if you're not doing a ton of coatings, it may be better just to sell the wax or sealants to your customers because you're getting to touch that car a lot more often. I guess the big argument is the interior still gets dirty, which is true, which is right, unless you put an interior coating, I guess. But if you sell that one-time coating for $1,200 versus saying $70, $80 wax or $120 sealant. It's kind of an interesting topic to think about, future monies for the detailer, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, especially with daily drivers, and that's kind of why I question people so much when they ask about coatings. They really honestly don't keep their car more than about 3 years, and they're trading it in 3 to 5 years, and it's gone.
Right.
So, and if you do a good job on that one, they're going to call you for that next one, and the next one after that, the next one after that. Once they get that coating on there, most people love it so much that they want every car to have it on there because it stays cleaner longer. It looks better. It's so easy to wash,
right.
And drying is just a breeze. It just makes life a lot easier.
Yeah,
not to mention it lasts so long.
Yeah, that is true. What advice would you give a detailer that's just starting out that maybe has the end goal of wanting to work on collections?
I have a passion for cars. That's probably the biggest thing in the world. If you're going into it thinking of it as a way to make money in a job, then you're probably going to fail miserably. You got to have a passion because there was several years that I lost a lot of money detailing cars where I didn't make very much at all. You got to have a passion for cars. That's the biggest thing.
I agree. Definitely. And it's tough running a business and kind of having that. Just today I was doing a couple cars, and when I got done I walked back into it's an office, but it was just a couple cars, and the people go, "Oh, we forgot that you were here." And I'm like, "Yeah." I kind of got lost. I was just doing like basic car washes for him, but I kind of got lost in it, and kind of had a slower day. So I was like, whatever, I'll just do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And it's true that passion for kind of just either liking clean cars or just liking cars in general is really important because you can kind of lose yourself in cars sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't appreciate cars and don't have a passion for them and you treat it as a job, you're going to get really frustrated very quickly, very early on. And
it gets super boring, because just and that's what I found out with just doing car washes. Is it just gets so boring so quick,
The greatest invention for a detailer ever is headphones.
And listening to podcasts.
There you go.
Yeah, I went years without anything in my ears, and then I bought that DeWalt radio, and I brought that with me for a long time. But then you're always out of batteries, especially being like a mobile guy. It's like, oh crap, I forgot to charge the battery. And not only that, but everyone else can hear whatever you're listening to. But man, headphones. For the past 3-4 years, I've just had headphones in my ears constantly. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, anytime I'm working on a car, I've always got my headphones going. I've always got either music or the podcast or an audiobook, or depending on what type of work I'm doing, then that's kind of determines what I'm listening to.
Totally. So what are some podcasts that you like listening to? Just curious.
Mainly just the detailing podcast. I listen to a lot of detailing podcasts, a lot of your stuff. I listen to. I just got done listening to the one with you and Kevin Davis on the financing.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Business financing. Yeah,
Kevin's fun. We always joke around because he likes to do video podcast or video recordings, and I don't like doing video recordings, but I do it just because I'm like, well, he wants to put it on his YouTube channel, and we're talking
he just likes
anyway.
To see himself. It's all right.
He likes to see himself, but on the last video, it was funny. The last video, he didn't change the screen setting or something. So instead of it being like a 50-50 split screen with me and him, it was like I was like 80% and he was like 20%. It was horrible. I'm like, really, Kevin? But I just shove a mic in my face and in front of my face so no one can really see. But, sometimes I don't like I just record off a laptop, so it's not like perched up nice. I'm like looking down on the camera. It's just like, oh, gosh. Most of the time I'm
A
recording.
hat pulled down low and a camera or microphone in your face.
Last time I did wear a hat, I think for that one I did wear a hat just because I'm like, it's usually after work and I'm all gross and sweaty and I'm like, Kevin, this is why I do audio-only podcast. Have a face for audio. Besides a machine, what kind of product would you like to see out? Or do you think M205 kind of hits the spot?
You know, I hate to sound like a McGuire's fanboy, but, I mean, M205 is, it's such a versatile product. You can use it so many different ways and just get such great results with it. Almost, I'd say 80% of the time is mainly what I use. I mean, you can, water it down and get a little less cut, and, it just works phenomenally. Use it as a metal polish. It's just such a versatile product. I love it. It's my number one product.
So if you're trying to get maximum cut from 205, what's your go-to? Microfiber cutting pad?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, microfiber cutting pad, and I use the finishing pad more. But a lot of the cars that I do have a lot of curves on them, so
right.
A cutting pad is very hard to use sometimes. So I go through probably 24 to 30 finishing pads a month.
Wow.
Yeah, that's mainly the only pads that I use.
Wow.
And then finish out with foam.
Holy smokes. So you're using the microfiber finishing pad to actually cut a little bit too?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it works phenomenal as a cutting pad.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. That's awesome.
It is. That technology is just crazy with that big 21 millimeter stroke machine, and even with some of the 8 millimeter strokes and 12 millimeter stroke machines, you can get really good cut out of a microfiber finishing pad in 205. It's just such an amazing combination.
What are you ever working on the interior of these cars, or mainly just outside?
Probably 60% I do interior and exterior, and the other 40% is just exterior only.
Okay.
Do a lot of polishing, a lot of paint polishing.
Do you ever get bored of polishing?
No.
No.
Never.
Sometimes I'm working.
I'm usually the one that gets kicked out of my customers' homes. Just, you need to go home, come back tomorrow. I love polishing paint. I do it. I'll work 12, 14 hours. It doesn't hurt me a bit. I love it.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Cool. Yeah, is there anything else? I'm going to kind of splice all this together, and I think it's actually going to make for a really great episode. But is there anything you want to add, talk about, discuss, ask, anything at all?
No, man. I can't think of anything, to be honest.
Cool. All right, well, thanks for listening to another episode of the Auto Detailing Podcast. Head on over to autodetailingpodcast.com to read our full show notes, blog post, updates, and even sign up for our newsletter so you can be the first to hear about the latest and greatest all things auto detailing podcast. And don't forget, if you leave us a rating and review on iTunes, it'll help us reach other auto detailers just like you, and you may even get a shout out at the top of a future episode. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode.